Welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Kanaan. Today, we're excited to have Rob Kanaan with us. Hi, Rob.
How you guys doing?
Fantastic. Rob's a dynamic leader who began his journey in the life insurance industry in 2005 while finishing his marketing degree at St. Mary's University in Halifax. Rob's dedication and drive led him to become the agency owner of Globe Life AIL Division SK Organizations, a position he's held since 2018.
Yeah, and Rob also spends his time giving back to the community. So he partners with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of Canada for the Light the Night campaign, and also supports Feed Nova Scotia to help increase food security. So, Rob, we definitely want to hear more about that shortly, but maybe first tell us a little bit about your story. What first attracted you to get into the life insurance industry?
Well, hey, thank you. And first of all, Kane and Joe, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to spend some time with you guys.
Absolutely.
You know what? I'll tell you, I've been in the industry. I've been in the insurance industry since 2005, which, I'm going to age myself here, but I believe I was 21, 22 years old. And, like most 21, 22-year-olds graduating or about to graduate from university, back then anyways, I don't think a lot of them say, hey, I want to get into life insurance sales and stay there for the rest of my life and the rest of my working life at that. So, I'll make a 20 years sound super, super short. I came here with a one year commitment. I was about to graduate from St. Mary's, as you guys mentioned, and I was going to do my master's program that didn't start till the following September. And so, I had a conversation with my old man at the time, and he said, go make some money now that you're done school before you go back to school. And so, I got into sales. My sister was already in the company at the time. And so as a middle child with an older sister in the business doing well, I thought if I just did this much better, then I was going to be okay. And so that was it. I started, and 1 year led to two, and two led to three. I did not go back and do my master's program. I like to joke around. I tell people that I now have a master's in this industry. More importantly, I think I have the master's degree in this company because I've never left. I've been here. I'm almost 42 years old now, and I've been doing the same thing, obviously in different roles, since 2005. And, here we are.
Sounds like you did.
Sorry, Ken,
Yeah,
you
go
look
ahead.
fantastic. So this is it must be a good career, good life that you've edged out for yourself. Sorry, Kane, you were gonna say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you must have done too well that first year to keep you in for the second year, third year, not bring you back in.
Well, I'll tell you, at the time, a lot has changed from the way that we used to do the business back then to the way that we do the business today. But, and I find myself saying this to a lot of people, is that the way we do business has changed, but the reasons why we do the business has not changed. We're in an industry where people are being born every day, people are dying every day, people are making more money, people are getting new jobs, people are losing their jobs, and all that. When you talk about insurance and financial security of someone's family, it doesn't really go anywhere. So, as the times change and how we do business, the reasons why we do it stay the same. And so, I figured that out after my first year and said, I have to give this another shot, another year for sure.
So what part of it was really, obviously the helping individuals was a big motivating factor for you. But during that first year, what really started to move the needle away from the masters and towards staying in this obviously fantastic career?
Yeah, that's a great question. Whenever you're getting ready to graduate from university and, all your friends are job searching and trying to find careers, it almost feels like you're leaving school where you're having a great time. You're going out Thursday through Sunday, depending on how much you're from university. You're showing up to classes. Some classes you didn't need to go to. University is a great experience. And I loved all 4.5 years that I was there. And I just felt like when I get a real job, I'm going to be trapped. And I expected that. So I thought, I'm coming into this, I'm going to do it for a year. I'm going to be trapped for a year. And then I'm going to go back to college to get more education because I want to have, more fun and live my life. And, that's thinking as a 21, 22-year-old. And what happened during the first year that I was here was I was working when I wanted to work. I had as much flexibility as I wanted. And most importantly, I could make as much or as little money as I wanted to. So if the opportunity to make a great income is unlimited and your growth potential is unlimited, and then I have the flexibility of my schedule, so I'm not really trapped. I didn't know what I was going to university to get, or to get my master's program, get more university for, to go find a better job, when the job I had that was right in front of me it was amazing. I just didn't think there was anything that was going to be better than what I had. And so I wanted to do it for another year just to make sure I was right.
And then it sounds like you were. I mean, obviously staying in it for all this time and being part of and leading an organization with huge growth. So question on that. You mentioned some of the changes, or that the industry has changed over time, but that maybe the competencies or motivations haven't. I'm curious what you think might happen in the next 5 years, 10 years, specifically in relation to new agents coming into the industries. There's going to be room for them. What might happen in the market? Like when you're recruiting, is that something you talk about and maybe consider as well?
Before 2020, before, the world as we know it changed, especially with the way that we do business online now. This was not as desirable of a job as it is today. And, it's funny that I think about from 2005 until 2020, for the first 15 years of my career, I would recruit people, I would train people, and I would develop people, all with telling them that this is the best career. You'll never leave. You'll do just like me. You have the flexibility, you have the freedom, you can make as much money as you want. And now that I think about the first 15 years versus the last 4 years, I don't know how I used to recruit to do the job. I wouldn't do the job that I had to do. And I certainly wouldn't be able to recruit into the job today, knowing what I know now. It's unbelievably different. When you think about, look, I'm married and I have two little girls. And now that I think about it from, a father, I wouldn't want my daughters to do the job that I had to do. We used to go into clients' homes. We used to drive all around the provinces. We used to get lost, in rural areas of northern New Brunswick sometimes, and we used to have, there were car accidents, there were staying in hotels. It's like all the fun stuff back then are all the reasons today why I'm just happy that we don't have to do the business. That's not a business model anymore. We are from the comfort of our own homes. We can work from absolutely anywhere. You can be on vacation and not have to worry about taking time off. And so, Kane, when you ask about what do I see the next 5 years and 10 years looking like from a recruiting standpoint, our recruiting since COVID has, I just don't want to say it's 3x or 4x. Our recruiting has like more than 10x,
Wow.
where we used to maybe, and that's just because of the expansion of the provinces as well. But not only that, people think a lot differently now about the business that we do, where before it was like, oh, I'm not working commission, I'm not selling insurance, right? Where now everything you see online is work your own hours and build your own business, and don't work for a boss. And a lot of those are just buzzwords, but it's a lot more attractive. What we do today is a lot more attractive than it used to be. And I feel like in 5 years and 10 years, as this world changes, the need for specific industries or people in those industries, I feel is going away. Look at the AI and all this stuff that's coming in, and think about, Uber drivers versus what we knew growing up, where this market, no matter what happens with it, people are still dying, people are still being born, people are still getting sick, people are still getting homes, people are still downsizing and upsizing. And I think the money needs to be protected when people are doing well. And the money needs to be protected just as much, if not more, when people are scared to lose it. And so I just see it getting bigger and bigger.
So, Rob, maybe you could talk a bit about You touched on AI and how that's having an impact in other people's roles, and some people will say that they are nervous about AI coming into the insurance industry and taking away the role of the advisor. Tell us why you think that's not the case.
I don't think that, I'm not saying it's not going to take parts of our job away.
Right.
I'm just happy that AI is going to take the parts of the job away that we don't like really doing anyway. Like all the calculations and some of the underwriting and I just went through the process. I just got an insurance policy and I did most of it online. The only parts I did not want to do online was the part of the person selling it to me. I wanted to know who my advisor was. And I obviously knew who it was. He was a friend of mine. I wanted to speak to him, and I could have done the same policy with 50 other people I didn't know or that I didn't wasn't able to see face to face or work with face to face. And I think that's the main thing. At the end of the day, when you look at why people make a buying decision on something, if the price is important, but in my opinion, and especially with something like this is not like buying an iPhone, which is going to be the same iPhone, and doesn't matter who sold it to you. You can walk into any Apple store and service it. We're talking about on one of the worst days, if not the worst day of your family's life. You want to know that I can call Kane or I can call Joe and say, hey, here's what happened. Help me with a claim or help me with, how do I get the money? Whatever it's going to be. And I just feel like, I don't know if down the road, years down the road, that AI is not going to be as sensitive as we are. I just don't see it anytime soon.
What a fantastic point. That is such a fantastic point, that in that moment of need, they want to reach out to somebody who understands their situation, who's empathetic and can help. And that's something I think a lot of people don't think of. They think about the purchasing of the insurance, but they don't think about what happens when there's a claim, or that, like you said, it happens to all of us. That death comes knocking on a door. That's a great point.
Absolutely.
And I think that we see this, and we talk a lot about AI and technology and the role of technology in various industries, and that's something that your point's really well made. That's I think people really enjoy and want to have the human spirit and human emotion as part of the process, especially as you mentioned, when it's something like insurance and life insurance. So really, really good point. But Rob, I just wanted to jump back for a couple seconds. And you mentioned, I know you guys do a ton of recruiting with a lot of new people in the industry. What do you think, like for those listening that are considering this career, or maybe now they're thinking about it, what do you think sets apart successful agents when they come through versus those that maybe don't find that success?
It's probably one of the most asked question I get from anybody that is, not necessarily even in an interview. I'm talking about people who, I might know, or people who might reach out to me. I'll have people reach out to me on Instagram and saying, hey, I was just hired onto your company. What's something you could tell me that will, set me apart from everybody else? And my answer seems to not change from year to year. It's almost the same. And it's almost the same answer that somebody gave me when I asked. And at the end of the day, whether you're going into mortgage sales or you're going into real estate or you're going into insurance, if you have an amazing attitude and you're coachable and you just put in the work, how are those ingredients, those three ingredients for absolutely anything you do in this world, not going to give you the best chance possible to be successful? Look, there's nothing guaranteed. I can come in with a smile on my face every day and just want everybody to do awesome. I'll be coachable and I'll listen to everything you guys tell me and I'll work my butt off. That doesn't guarantee that I'm going to make it. However, that's going to give me a way better chance if I came in here with a terrible look, tried to do things my own way. Like if I couldn't make it work doing it your way, that's already paved the way. Like you already have a track record. And if I do it the best I possibly can from the way you're teaching me and it still doesn't work, I had no chance doing it my way. It's something I've never done before. And so I really believe that whether people will call them, say, go find a mentor. I believe finding a mentor is just finding somebody in that specific role that you're in, that's doing something that you want to do, and just listen to absolutely everything they ask you to do, and just do it to the best of your ability. So have a great attitude, be coachable, and just work your butt off, because you can't hide from the work. You know what I mean?
And Rob, did you have? So I love what you just said. Mentorship's so important, and I think in any industry it can be super important, especially though when you are a commission-based person and you have your own business. Can you tell us a little bit about when you started out? Did you have that person? Did you have that mentor? And what was that process like for you? How long did you need the mentor for, or do you still have a mentor?
Yeah, I think people who really get it never stop learning and never stop being coached. And from the time I started was very different. For me to get coached from somebody, I had to hire a professional coach and do it on the phone at the time, because unless you had a Skype account, which nobody had Skype accounts back in the day, it was very difficult. So internally in our business, the senior partner who hired me on at the time, Imran Saadi, he taught me, he likes to say that he taught me everything I know, but not everything he knows. But the tables have kind of shifted over the years for that one. People in the company that I would get to meet at seminars and conventions, I would just take that opportunity to exchange phone numbers. We used to get them onto a call. We used to put them on speakerphone from our office lines, because, we didn't have speakerphones at that time. I'm talking, this is a long time ago. After 2020, where everything's changed, we talk about coaching and learn. You have no excuse now. You have more YouTube videos to learn from than ever before. You have more free online resources that you would never be able to get through it all. But more importantly, you have access to the best people in the world by simply jumping on a Zoom call. I go back and forth, guys. I don't know how much, how many of your clients do this with you guys, but Nigel Walker, he's my go-to, he's my Remick connection. Nigel and I will just talk once every few weeks about how do we help each other out? Like, hey, what's one thing we can do to get students getting through the course faster, or and it's got to be reciprocal. And how can I help you get more people in, or how can I help you in different forms? And I believe that give and take between people that you're working with, same industry or an industry that parallels pretty well with it, that's the stuff that you got to continuously do. And you got to just continuously learn. The more you learn, the more you earn, right?
Yeah. And you know what? That's a fantastic point about the reciprocity, is that when you're dealing with it, and that's something that a lot of new individuals in the industry, as well as some of those that have been around for a while, trying to get business from referral sources, kind of forget, right? They go and they say, hey, I'm going to do a great job for your clients. Do you have any clients for me? Without thinking about well, how can I help you grow your business? And then if I can give you some of that value first, hopefully you can help me grow. But I just want to walk around and give everybody value. So that's a great point that you make about, and again, that's something that I think we all need to focus on in all of our businesses, right? Whenever we're talking to each other, there's why would I do business with you? I mean, obviously, you're a huge, likable person, right? But to make that continue on, there has to be something else there. And I think you touched on that. That's a very, very important life lesson for people in this industry.
Sure. Yeah, the other thing, Rob, I think we sort of touched on it, but again, for those new coming in, and I'm curious to hear about this from your perspective, continuing to bring in and see new agents flourish. And I'm wondering, are you seeing any misconceptions or people coming into the industry with the wrong idea? And what does that mean for them when that happens, if that happens?
I mean, we say that coming in with the wrong idea. I think people get sold too quickly, maybe on the wrong reasons to come into the industry. And what I mean by that is the same thing that I told you that attracted me to the industry or kept me here after my 1 year trial run was I had as much flexibility as I wanted. I could make as much money as I wanted, and I had an unlimited opportunity to grow. And those same things could also be translated to somebody else that's hearing it as, I can work whenever I want,
Right.
which means that if, the weather's beautiful out today, I'm going to take the day off and go to the beach. I can make as much money as I want. So that also means that if I don't make money for a few weeks, it's okay, because then I'll catch up on week 3, which doesn't happen. And I can grow, so I can get promoted, and I don't have to wait for somebody to die or get fired or retire before I get my opportunity to move up. And so the wrong people, or the people that are coming in with the wrong attitude, can also take those, and they can be misconceptions. They can come in and just kind of float around and then complain about why they're not making money, or why they feel like they're working too much, or why they feel like they're not being promoted. And I just think it's a really difficult transition to make if you've never been told where to be, how long to be there for, and what we're going to pay you to come into a pay for performance, 100% commission based job, which is why I love recruiting athletes, especially like higher up athletes that have played in like college. I love hiring people from the service industry. I mean, you think about a server or a bartender. They work terrible hours. They have to work for their tips, so they got to show up ready to go with a good attitude, and they deal with
people,
some pretty shitty people. You know what I mean? So especially at a bar at 2 a.m, you're not dealing with the They might think they're fun at the time, but if you're on the other side of the bar, that's not fun for you.
Yeah.
And so when we bring them on and say, look, you have flexibility of your schedule, so you don't have to work till midnight every night. You can make as much money as you want by just going to work and doing it really well. And the people that you're going to work with aren't going to be under the influence and loud.
Hopefully not.
You know what I mean? Hopefully not. Exactly.
Rob, I love that point you made. It's so important. This is one of the questions we get from students coming out of our course all the time is, hey, how do I set up my resume, or what types of things should I be saying during my interview? And I think it's very reflective of what you just said. It's less about sort of what you've done and more about who you are, right? Like your ethic and your competencies, and like you mentioned, willingness to learn. And so I think a lot of recruiters don't necessarily care if you have very relevant experience. It's more about who you are and sort of, the soft skills do matter, but I think that a lot of that can be taught in as well. So you mentioned, yeah, go ahead.
I want to add to that. It's I saw something on my Instagram. It was this not construction, it was landscaping company, and the owner was looking for people to mow lawns. Okay, and he said that on his Instagram video. This is just literally this morning. This is why I've got the smile on my face. And he gets on, he's like, hey, social media world, reaching out, I'm looking for a couple people to mow lawns for the summer. I'm going to pay you X amount per hour. Please send your resume to in my link. You'll find the email to send my resume. And I couldn't help but send him a message and said, what could possibly be on the resume that would prevent you from hiring somebody to mow a lawn? Okay. He hasn't responded back to me yet, but what I'm trying to get, and I know this guy, and what I'm trying to help him with is, don't waste their time on something that's irrelevant. Instead, just tell them, if you're interested in mowing lawns, reach out to me. You're going to have to teach them how to use your lawnmower anyway. So training's provided. You're going to pay them. Just tell them what day you're going to pay them so that they know, and they know how much they're getting paid so that they can plan their thing out. And then from there, just tell them how many hours you have for them. And you should already know that. Like, make the person you're trying to recruit's life a little bit easier, and you'll get better candidates all day long. Like, there is no way that people that are just going to mow lawns in the summer are going to go doctor up a beautiful resume. By the time they get the resume done, the season of mow lawns in Canada is going to be done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In Canada, that's right. It'll be over.
It's a wonderful point. You got to follow up and let us know what he says, because I'm curious too to hear what he thought. It probably isn't a ton of thought.
I'll do it for sure.
I love that you touched on some of the, I guess, challenges with the industry for those coming in new. It's not always going to be easy, certainly. So how do you, especially early on, how did you manage sort of the balance? I know you have kids as well, and the stress that I'm sure the role brings on as well. How do you manage that? And what would you suggest for others maybe just entering?
I think that's going to change. It's like when you ask, it's kind of like the motivation question I get now, like, hey, what motivates you? That is going to be a different answer at every season that I'm with this team. And what I mean by that, guys, is that, the same challenges or the stress that I may have had, or the work-life balance or imbalance that I had in year 1 and 2, I look back at them now and I kind of wish I still had those days. I wish I had those stresses versus the ones that I have now. You know what I mean? Like before, I used to stress about just myself and maybe my clients showing up, where today I stress about 120 or 130 people's lives and their families, because they depend on us to continue running our business properly, for them to continue, thriving and having success in their company. And so I think the stresses come with different levels and different seasons, like I said. And so managing them is, just depending on the situation. I don't really let it get down on me too much. Like I don't worry about the things that I can't control. Like I'm not going to stress out if I want to go golfing today and it's raining out. Like I'm not going to control if it's going to rain or not. I feel like you can only control a few things. And I just really try to focus on those. And as the older I get, I realize that the things that, I was stressing about back then really don't matter. Like anybody watching this that's knows what I'm talking about. We say, think about all the stress and the sleepless nights we had preparing for an exam, for a course that we don't even remember anymore. And whether or not we scored high or scored low on it really doesn't change where we're at today. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I try to remember those things. Like if it's not going to matter in 5 days from now, then why spend more than 5 minutes on it?
I love that. The perspective,
Yeah.
right? Maintaining the perspective and knowing that, hey, this doesn't really matter, right? What really matters to me? What can you control? Love that.
And to follow a little bit on the work-life balance, I really don't believe in balance. And this didn't take me very long to figure out, because in my first year here, I made a ton of friends with people that we were working here with, and we decided to start driving together. Now, of course, we don't drive anywhere anymore because we're all online. But even today, we are friends with people that you work with. And I feel like, when you try to balance stuff, like what does balance even mean? If you're going to sleep 8 hours, does that mean you got to work out for 8 hours? Like, is that the balance? And then you got to work for 8 hours, or you got to spend 8 hours. You'll run out of time in the day trying to balance all the things that we have to do, right? And so I like calling it like blending, like work-life blending. And when you think about work-life blending, it's funny, and I tell people this all the time. It just so happens that the people that I call to hang out, the people that I call to golf with, the people that I call to go on vacation with, my wife's friends, my kids' friends in school, all just so happen to be people that I work with. And so, it's kind of like a family business. Why go to work versus have fun when you can just do both at the exact same time?
That's awesome. Community.
Make sure the tax write-off.
Yeah. You always have it. It's built in then.
Right. And that's a good point. I mean, when you're working in an industry like this, you're working alongside of like-minded people who tend to have the same values or work ethic that you have. And it probably makes it a little bit easier, or maybe a lot easier, to have friends like that, as opposed to working for a company where you're put with someone else who's there to earn a paycheck, but not necessarily there with the same motivators that you have coming into this industry. So that's cool. You know what? That's something that I think, like Kane and I, we hang out a lot, because we don't look at it as a job. We have the same type of philosophy and motivations. And that makes it not a job or a career. That makes it, you're earning money for a hobby and having fun kind of thing, right?
And I love that you mentioned that's something we started saying as well the last few years is the blend, right? It's not about balance, it is about blend. So I love that. That's the same thought that you have.
We're at I came up with the this is a family business on, it was a few years ago, and we were at we rented this house for one of our friends' birthdays, and he worked with us, still works with us, and it was his birthday, and we all stayed at this big house, and it was Monday morning, and we had a meeting, or Friday morning we had a meeting, And so I said, hey guys, I got to jump on my laptop and run a meeting. And, I'm used to seeing 60, 70, 80, 100 people on my Zoom meeting when I open it up. And there are only like 30 or 40 people there. And so, I opened up the call and I was like, where is everybody? And I turn around and, by the pool, there's probably 30 people that are also supposed to be on that call. And so, a quick whistle and get over here and stand here for the meeting. And so, you got 30, 40, 50 people in front of you and 30, 40 people that are partying with you. And it just all hit me. I said, look, if we can do this together, that's going to be way more fun. And we're going to do it a lot longer. And we're going to be there with each other versus trying to do it by ourselves. Because, work gets boring, especially sitting in front of your computer for 5, 6, 7, 10 hours a day.
And that's
sorry, Kate. So is that part of the value prop that you talk to new recruits about? You talk to them because this sounds a lot like a culture that you've developed in your company, and this must be very attractive to individuals who are looking for a place to call home.
Well, so you think about this. I believe that there's a culture in your organization, whether that's a good culture and you like it or it's a bad culture and you want to stay away from it, that's irrelevant. There is a culture that people see when they walk in. And when they walk in and they see the way people behave, which creates the culture, which tells them what the culture looks like. And we could take things very different when we hire somebody and we tell them like, we golf with each other and we vacation with each other, or, hey, we're flying to Toronto next week to meet some people. We're going to do a little social event. We're going to go golf. And the new people that we've hired are going to see that. And we're all there and we're doing it together. Well, the exact opposite happens with companies that don't put an emphasis on that and don't find that important. Like, there are a lot of companies out there that when we speak to them and you ask them like, hey, are you friends with your boss? They'll say, no, we don't even speak. Or, hey, would you invite people you work with to your birthday party? And they're like, no, absolutely not. We don't operate that way. That would just be weird. Well, for us, it would just be weird not to be friends with the people that we work with.
So a question on that. I love that culture is so important. I mean, we all should know that by now anyway. What does a typical day then look like for maybe and I want to be specific because I know it might change, for maybe someone in this industry and maybe a newer agent here for about a year finding a decent amount of success? What might a typical day look like for them?
It's a great question. So a typical day, and I'll give it to you from a sales rep, and I'll give it to you from a sales rep and sales trainer pretty much have the same day. And then I'll give it to you from like a director or somebody like in senior leadership like myself type of day. Because they are quite different. Mm-hmm. I feel that early on, like our agents and our sales reps, they put in more of the real one-on-one with the clients. They're on the phones. They're on Zoom one-on-one with clients way more than I'm going to be, for example. And so a typical day would just be, so we tell them to set your blocks, right? When we talk about work blocks, we talk about first thing you got to do is you got to assign the time to yourself that you plan on working today. And the reason we want you to do that is because once you assign those blocks, we would rather you assign yourself a block that is 3 hours long for the whole day than to assign yourself 12 hours and not give it 100%. And so once you assign your block, and we don't care when those blocks are, you could say, today I'm going to work from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. And tomorrow I'm going to work from 8 a.m. till 12 p.m. I'm going to take a break and then I'm going to do it again from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. We don't care what time you set for yourself. But once you have those times set, we call them RGAs. It's called revenue generating activity. During your time set, you're not doing anything if it doesn't earn production. If it doesn't make you money, don't do it. Like when you set your time, that's not the time to sit down and run a podcast with some of your friends. You know what I mean? If you set your time to say, I'm working from 5 till 9 today or from 12 till 4, that 12 to 4 is smile and dial and get on with your clients, because we have clients set up for us as well. So unlike a lot of other companies or organizations in this industry, we don't cold call and we don't solicit and we don't need a list of your family and friends in order to get you started here. We invest heavily into resources and leads for all of our representatives. And so we do the best we can to make sure that we would keep Kane busy with clients instead of busy finding clients, because it's more profitable for him and he's going to be a lot happier doing that than he is, soliciting and marketing himself, right?
There's really no excuse if that's the case. If you have names and numbers in front of you, smile and dial, like you said, right?
1,000,000%. We'll give you a number to call, a place to be, and a reason to be there. And if you can take care of the rest, you're going to be just fine here.
Now, do most companies, other than your organization, do most companies do that? And if not, what might a typical day look like for a more of a typical life agent?
I don't know very many companies. I'm sure there are other companies that do provide the resources. I do know some that provide them, but they charge for them. We do not charge for any of those. But I do have a lot of friends in the industry. As a matter of fact, a lot of my neighbors on the street are, financial planners and been in insurance and investments. And, they have to find their own clientele, or they have to buy a book of business from somebody that's leaving the industry or retiring or something like that. I believe here, one of the biggest challenges in this industry for young people is usually finding people to sell to. Because hey, think about it. I started when I was 21, 22 years old. My friends can't afford this stuff. And even if they could, they're not going to buy it from me. They know I don't know anything about it. I'm their friend that's hanging out with them on the weekend. They also don't want me to be their financial, planner or their insurance guy, right? And so I think one thing for us, and the reason we can attract a younger demographic, besides the culture and besides, the fun that we've created here, is that we are also telling them, like, look, when you start, we're going to give you your resources. We're going to teach you how to work these resources. Really, all you need to do is show up, give us your best, great attitude, and be coachable, and we'll take care of everything else.
I love that you mentioned younger people. That's something that, we here at Remic, we do the HLQP course, the licensing course that's required. And we're seeing in our sort of entry data a lot more young people in their 20s. We're seeing more females coming through the course. Is that what you're seeing as well? And why do you think that's happening?
So I think we've always had a younger demographic coming in, and it's probably because it could have been what we've been targeting. When I started, and I was in my early 20s, maybe I was just better at recruiting people in their 20s. As I get older and I recruit people, I find that they're also aging with me. So most people now just happen to be close to my age. But it's interesting. You mentioned females. Our female demographic since 2020, since COVID, females are the majority of our company, where before it was completely lopsided the other way. Like we can look through our top performers or our spotlight magazines throughout the entire company on an international spectrum. And when you look at it, there are more females. I believe the last number that we received from the company overall, not just my organization, was 52% what female to males. And I first of all, I love that, because I think that females are, in my opinion, I think they're way easier to deal with, right? That's one thing, but maybe I'm just used to it because I have a wife and 2 girls at home, but I do know
good at it.
Yeah, I've gotten really good at it. But things have changed. Like I mentioned earlier, where this wasn't really an attractive position for anybody, let alone think about a single mom or a mom who has to go to work in the evening and drive somewhere. They don't get to put their kids to bed. They don't get to have dinner with their families. They're going to be on the road. And so now, where we could do it from here, I mean, as long as you don't set an appointment between, the 2 hours that it takes to, feed, bathe, and read a book and put your kid to bed, then you can really do this. You can do as much as you want of this, and it doesn't have to interfere with, your family life. And that goes for both males and females.
Now, do you think that that's been purposeful of the industry, hiring females, or you think it's been a reaction of the market, like you mentioned? Because we also, look at some of the consumer data that females are really driving purchasing decisions, and that maybe that's reflective of this as well, that you might want to see some representation in the industry, female versus male. But I guess it's hard to measure, why it's happening as well, right? But I think that's a really good point about, how COVID has ultimately changed everything and made the job different.
And I mentioned my sister was the one who brought me in here. My sister was with the same company, and actually is this same branch that I own now for 2 to 3 years before I started. And my younger brother's been here now with me for 10 years, and there's only three of us. And a question we get is, well, why did your sister leave in the first place? And at that time, she left because she wanted to start a family, and she knew that there was just no way she was going to be able to meet the demands of the position at the same time have a little baby in the house. And so things have certainly changed for that, and for the most part, they've changed for the better.
Yeah, and that's really cool how you were talking earlier about the flexibility. And if you are disciplined, and you can set your own hours and block that time off, then you can be successful. And a lot of, like you said, working moms had to sacrifice, I think, good paying careers. And now they don't have to, especially in this industry. And this is a good paying career. And when it comes to that, without being too specific, what types of incomes do you think that individuals, putting in that effort, being coachable, and really, really wanting to succeed in this industry, what type of incomes can they hope to see?
So the range on income for new people here, like, look, I can give you an average right across the board and say, on average, for anybody that's been with us for a year, they're looking at somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 of income in their very first year. But in the same breath, I also tell people is, do you really want to talk about an average that includes every person that's come in and failed, and every person that's come in and done this part-time, and every person that's come in and did it well? Use your own average. What do you want to make? How many hours are you willing to put in a round of a week for that? How much additional coaching and education are you willing to take? And if it's worth the amount that you want to make, then you'll probably just go ahead and do it. Now, we'll also help tell you, like, if you're being unrealistic, but I also think, like, who am I to tell somebody that I used to think it was impossible when I first started to make $100,000 a year as a 21-year-old coming out of university. Nobody made $100,000 a year. And, my first year I was part-time and I made $91,000. I was working 3 days a week. And, back then that's like $10 million in today's currency, right?
So I'm hearing that in your first year working 3 days a week, you can earn $10 million a year.
I'm going to short form.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we got.
This guy's, but look, I've seen it all. I've seen the people come in and, work their butts off and make $5,000 a month. I've also seen people come in here and say that they're not even really working and average $20,000 a month in their first year. It really comes down to you and there is a skill set, and your skills pay your bills. And I've been going around saying that. And if there's somebody in the organization that is making $100,000 a month, then I believe that I can also do that as well. Like, there's nothing that he or she have that makes them so much better than me that I can't do that, or at least get close. If you're making $100,000, I gotta find a way to do 50, and I'd be happy there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, great point. This isn't, this is an important industry. There's a lot to learn. There is that skill, but it's not like me saying I would like to be an astronaut at this point in my life. Just because other human beings can be astronauts, I can't. But to be successful in a field like this, like you were talking about earlier, being coachable, having that work ethic, and then looking at other individuals in the industry who've been successful and emulating what they've done, not reinventing the wheel, is definitely a way to be successful, right? And from what I assume, and I know this to be a fact, you guys have a great coaching and training program. So maybe you could just touch on how you bring individuals up that learning curve so successfully.
I think a problem in our industry, and I actually know it's a problem in our industry, is the lack of training and support that agents do get after they've been recruited. I feel companies are spending more of their time, energy, and resources on bringing somebody in. And then once that person is in, they're not investing the right amount of time, energy, and resources on making sure that person does well. And maybe because there's such a demand for what we do that it's a little bit easier just to go find somebody new to bring in versus train the one you have. My philosophy is completely different. Love the one that you're with. Why am I going to spend all my time bringing somebody in that I don't know is going to add any value or even pass the course? Like, you guys' course is the best and it's easy to pass. And if I'm going to recruit somebody and spend time and energy on somebody to bring in that I don't even know is going to get through the course, they may have a criminal record they're not even telling me about, and they'll never, depending on how bad the criminal record is, they'll never have a contract with my organization. And I'm spending more time with that person than I am with the person that's gotten through the course and has gotten their license and has put the time in, and they're a week away from getting a paycheck. We want to train, and that's what's made us, our culture is we are a training organization. Like, we could stop recruiting and we can continue running our deal. We have a very good agent tenure, and that's our retention of our agents because we continuously provide them training. Like, we are on, when somebody comes on here with us, we flood them. We tell them we want to overwhelm you with training. We want to overwhelm you with love, and love in our lingo is just, we'll train you as much as you want. We have pretty much nonstop workshops, nonstop groups about training and closing techniques and generating referrals and product training. It is nonstop. Like, I'm a way better trainer than I am recruiter. And our training is so good that the recruiting just takes care of itself. You get, recruiting is very simple because people want to follow the leader and people want to follow people that are doing good things. And we do a great job showcasing our people that are doing really well. And so once you get somebody that's doing very well, people start asking questions. What is he or she doing? Same thing you're going to do. You just got to get trained. Well, how long's training for? For the rest of your career. I've been here for 20 years and I still get training. I fly places to get training, and I'm on Zoom every Tuesday with the entire company on a training course. I do 30 minutes to 1 hour with the company, and I probably do another 2 or 3 hours by myself throughout the week of just getting better. As leaders, we owe it to our people to get better, or they're going to get better than we do. And that's good, as long as we continue working on ourselves as well.
Wow.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Learn to earn, right? Like you said earlier.
The more you earn.
So learn to earn, smile to dial,
skills to pay bills.
Skills to pay bills. Yeah, man. These are this is gold.
There's no one
Rob, you've really said it all, man. I love the training and mentorship part. I think that's so important.
Rob, did you hear him? He sounds like both of us over time have listened to Howard Stern, and I don't know if you've listened to Howard Stern, but he always says when he's wrapping up, "Well, you've said it all. You've said
it all." Is there anything else you think you want to leave our listeners with, maybe specifically for those that are considering, again, this career, and any advice you might have, any other advice you might have for them?
I tell people all the time, I say, if the more courses that you have, the better it is, because it'll be easier for you to land a job or quicker for you to start getting paid at the job if you already have the education and the certifications that you need. And so, one thing I tell people that are going to get hired and say, well, I'm not sure if I want to work in that industry or not. I was like, well, listen, I'll tell you what, for the sake of a couple $100 or whatever it takes to get your insurance license, you should just get it anyway, because once you get through the course, you'll start knowing if you're interested a little bit in it or not. And if you are a little bit, and then down the road, a few months from now, you decide, like, you know what, I do want to work in this industry. Well, you just got the worst step out of the way, which is getting your certification. And I feel that way as long as there's no conflict of interest. I feel that about every course. And so I think if somebody's on the fence and they're just not sure, I'd say get the course first, just to see. That's the entry barrier right there. That's the first one. You may not even get through the course, right? And so go through it. It's just like you can't be a doctor without going to med school. And a lot of doctors never become doctors because they drop out right in med school because they're like, I hate this stuff. I'm never going to do it. And if you feel that way about mortgages and insurance and I'm never going to do it, well, let the course be your barrier, not after you've already spent the time and energy and did it to cut the course out.
Love that. Yeah, that's so true. But with the doctor, though, you won't have the $200,000 in debt, at least on the mortgage and insurance side, right?
You got it.
All right, and Rob, I mean, you mentioned Instagram a few times. I know you're all over social media and you crush it on there. So where can our listeners find you online?
Awesome. So yeah, so on Facebook, I'm Rob Kanaan, Kanaan. On Instagram, I'm at Rob Kanaan, ROBKANAAN. And my organization is at SKW_organization. You'll find us there.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Good to go.
Rob, it's been a real pleasure having you today. We've talked about a lot of things, and I think for those listening, a lot of great takeaways from this conversation. So thank you very much for sharing your story, sharing your passion, and sharing those tidbits of information that I think can really make a difference in a person's career.
Awesome. And I thank you guys for having me on. It was, I had a good time. You guys make it easy to just be yourself and have some great conversations. So you guys keep up the good work as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media. And for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.